Bam. We're live. Oh my God, no echo. Makes me so happy. Makes me so happy. Hair game's looking tight. What's up?
Thank you. I know. I'm living the full fighter lifestyle.
Oh, is that I got to get punched in the face and my hair can't get in the way, but I don't want to shave my head bald.
These are boxer braids.
They're awesome. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Is it fun being you?
It really is. I have a blast.
When did it become? Guest is on time. Guest is on time. Yes, Bruce. Guest is on time. It's funny. I'm 169 shows in. I'm racing to 500. I'm gonna do 500 and then reevaluate. And like 2 or 3 times I've had a no-show of a guest, which has forced me to do a show by myself. But now the kind of OCD I have, you only need a guest to show up not once. And the paranoia is real, the anxieties.
Wait, so 500 is the goal, and then after that,
reassess. Like if I'm not having fun, like just like, and it's not making me money, then I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done.
Fair.
Like,
Fair.
I want to spend time with my kids.
Fair.
And it's really way out of my comfort zone.
What do you do besides this?
Play with my kids. Put on Stefi Cohen videos and be like, yo, check it. Look at this chick boxing. Dude, look at her deadlift. Dude, look at that. A sumo deadlift. What is that? Oh, can we go in the garage and try it? Sure. All right. Hurry up. We got to go to tennis lessons.
Sounds like you have a fun life.
I do. Was your life always fun?
Nah. I come from Venezuela. Was born and raised in Venezuela. From a modest family. I moved to the States pretty much forced by my mom. That wasn't fun. She packed my bag for me, a massive, like one of those big hockey bags she packed for me. And she sent me on an airplane at the age of 17 to San Diego initially. And I had big dreams. I wanted to do big things with my life, but they were pretty unconventional. The standards of living that I wanted to have were like, I want to be able to have freedom of time and place. I want to be my own boss, and I want to make lots of money. And I want to be involved in sports somehow. I don't want to have a desk job. I don't want to be behind a desk job and be, forced to abide by arbitrary rules of corporate America. I didn't want to do that. And it sounded like I was pretty crazy. My mom thought that I was out of my mind and that there was no way that I was going to be able to live that type of lifestyle that I wanted to live under those kind of standards or parameters that I was setting. And so I kind of had to create myself and really be creative and make it happen for myself. So, and I still grind, like, even though we're doing pretty well, I still, I'm in a rat race all day long. Every single wake hour that I have is accounted for. And I work really hard for what I have.
That's all you know how to do.
Yeah.
Grind.
Yeah.
So you say it was a modest upbringing in Venezuela, but in Venezuelan terms, you were balling, right?
I mean, no, really modest.
Oh.
Yeah, modest.
You're a Jew?
I am.
Your family escaped Nazi Germany? Is that how you end up in Venezuela?
Yeah, my grandparents did. So they were born in Romania, and they walked all the way from Romania to Israel. It took them like 2 months, like boat, train, car, walk, horse, donkey, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And that's how they made it to Israel. And then in Israel, they got it. My grandmother was a teacher, and she got a phone call from somebody there in Venezuela saying that they needed a Hebrew teacher and a director, like a principal. And so she moved to Venezuela and helped fund the first Jewish school in Venezuela.
Do you know what year that was?
No idea.
Listen, people,
40s?
5 years before Hitler started fucking slaughtering Jews, there were fucking more Nobel Prize winning scientist Jews coming out of Germany than any type of science explosion anywhere, anytime in the history of the world. Those people were fucking on top of their game, killing it, contributing to society in a way, E equals MC squared shit, photosynthesis, Otto Warburg. Metabolic disease. I mean, like Otto Warburg's dad was a physicist. I mean, And in 5 years, bam, they're rounding these fuckers up and killing them.
What's crazy is just the resilience that the Jewish people had as a whole, as a society, and how they were able to bounce back from that, and make lives of themselves. Even, look at my grandparents. I mean, fuck, they just moved to Venezuela, packed up a plastic bag probably, and
Nuts.
and just started their life over there. And same way for a lot of people their same age. And people that actually went to the Holocaust, like so we are kind of like the last generation that got to interact with people who went to the Holocaust. It's our grandparents that are mostly old, either dead or dying. And we used to have, like, every month we used to have a Holocaust survivor or somebody who lived in that time period come when senior year of high school, come over to school and give us a talk about their experience. And the most memorable one for me was this woman. She was a grandma of one of my closest friends in high school, and she had to have been like 12 or 13 when she was in the concentration camp. And they played a game with her and a bunch of the other kids that lived in her villa or in her house. And they pretty much put them in the snow barefoot and told them they basically said, whoever sits down because you're tired or whatever, because you're uncomfortable, if you sit down on the ground, you get shot. And everybody else sat down, got shot, and she stood. And to punish her, they cut every single one of her toes. And then she moved to Venezuela and, made a killing, built her empire, and was super successful. But it's interesting.
It's one of those stories I can't empathize with. And I'm the great empathizer. I can't.
Of course, yeah. It's so difficult to conceptualize that type of suffering. It's nothing that none of us are ever gonna experience. Not even similar,
It's crazy. Those of you who don't know Stefi Cohen, it's crazy how much Stefi Cohen videos I watched in the last few days. I was tripping that you were friends with Noah. That was crazy. It's such a small world. But anyway, sorry?
We went to school together, Noah and I.
Yeah, it's nuts. I can't wait to hear about the first time you guys met and what that was about. Stefi Cohen is not just some Jewish chick from Venezuela. She is a major contributor to the betterment of human beings on the planet. She lets people realize that they can do anything that they dream of, that they're really stronger than that they really are. She is the, history will tell, but she's a modern day, what's the guy's name? The guy who broke the 4-minute mile. She's a modern day Roger Bannister. She's the, there's the guy, the Fosbury Flop guy. I mean, she's done some really cool, fun things with her life. And now I don't know, how old are you?
I'm 29.
She's 29. I don't want to say she's getting old, but now as she's getting older, she's reflecting on it and she's letting her more vulnerable side come out. She's talking about injuries. She's talking about exploring just what it means to be in the public eye, what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a human. She's just now and then she's also like, okay, I'll try another sport too. Parlay all of this hard work into some other stuff. Are your parents here now?
My parents are separated or divorced. My mom lives in Chicago. My dad lives in Venezuela.
Okay. Do you ever go back to Venezuela?
Last time I was there was in 2018.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. But apparently things have changed so much since 2018. When I was there, it started resembling a lot like Cuba. Everybody kind of like wearing really old suits from the 80s. All the cars are broken down and super, super old. The currency is it's still worth nothing, but currency is worth nothing. It's like monopoly money. And it was like a zombie town. I think 30% of the total population of the country left.
It's a trip. 2 years ago, I think I was reading a story about how the average person in Venezuela had lost like 20 pounds because of just the crazy shortage of food.
Starvation, man. So I used to compete in Olympic weightlifting, and I did a few training camps over there. And I met this one guy, and he called me. Was it 2000? It had to have been like end of 2017. He called me. He says, "Listen, I used to compete at 77 kilos. I'm weighing 56 kilos. and it's almost 20 kilos lost. He's like, it's not because I want to, it's because my parents are really old, and pretty much every money, all the money that I have to spend on food for them because they can't work, and I don't know what else to do. Like, I need to get out of here. If there's anything that you can do, I'd really appreciate your help. And I barely knew this guy, right? Like, maybe I trained with him for a few weeks at most. And I asked him, okay, where would you want to go that you think you would have a better opportunity? And he said Peru, because he knew a coach there, and he knew the team, and he wanted to move there. So I sent him enough money for an airplane ticket to go from Caracas to Peru, and a little bit more. It was like $700. And a couple months, he said, thank you. He was super appreciative. And then a couple months later, he gives me a call again. He's like, hey, I just got to Peru. And I'm like, what do you mean you just got to Peru? It's been 2 months. And he's like, yeah, I decided to split that money between me and 2 other friends and just hitchhike rides and take trains and buses instead of flying. So he took 2 people with him.
Paid that shit forward.
Yeah. Crazy.
Do you know Chris Cooper?
I do not.
He owns Two Brain Business in Canada. You don't know who that is?
No, I don't. I'm ready.
Do you know who Miranda? Do you know Street Parking? Miranda Alvarez?
Yeah.
Do you know her?
No, I know of her.
Yeah. Totally. Just my brain's just going off into just a totally other direction. I just think that you should know those people, and they should know you. You guys would have great synergy.
I'd love to connect.
Yeah, her and Julian are dope. And they're just grinders. And Chris Cooper, you would absolutely love. Chris Cooper owns the largest, and what made me think of him is he owns the largest gym consulting company in the world, and it's out of Canada. And he has to, and Canadians have to keep their head low. They have tall poppy syndrome there. Do you know what that? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
And and he's such a gentleman of the highest order, and he gives away all of his shit basically for free. That's why this podcast is going. Basically, I had him on my podcast in a CrossFit gym that was failing, listened to the podcast, followed a few of his simple steps, became extremely successful. And then 3 years later called me and said, hey, I want to pay it forward to you. Will you start doing your podcast again? I'm like, no, I don't want to. They go, why? I go, I don't have a producer, and I'm not going to do any of the calls. And I just want to point at Stefi Cohen and be like, can you call her and try to get her on? I don't want to bug Stefi because I don't have time for that shit. And he goes, fine, I'll give you one of my employees to do that. Like, oh shit. And then my wife made me do it.
She made you do. She
well, she's like, don't be a dumbass. This is the universe conspiring to help you.
It's true.
Do your 500 shows and quit being a bitch.
Man, but that's what I always say, like, in terms of how people should act towards one another. It's like, if you do good by everybody, it comes back to you at some point.
Yeah.
It really does.
I'll just when the show's over, I'll send out. I have your email on that email thread, and I'll send out an email connecting you and Miranda and Chris. I mean, just to say hi. You know what I mean? Just like you guys are such good people, and you guys are doing such great work in the world.
I'd love to. I've always wanted to connect with her.
Yeah, and Chris is just so good at picking his brain because he's seen thousands of businesses succeed and fail and succeed and fail. So he knows just stupid shit like, hey, don't buy that toilet paper because 85 of my clients have said that, it gives their people rashes on their butthole. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm being a little risque, but so you asked that guy, is Hayden a Jew?
No.
Are your parents okay with that?
They weren't, or my dad was okay. My mom wasn't at the beginning, but then she, had no other option than to accept.
Are you guys married?
No.
I think my parents wanted me to marry an Armenian, and my wife's parents wanted her to marry a Jew. And then like you reach a certain age, we're like, okay, would you just get married?
Exactly.
Just get married. And then we really didn't think we were going to get married, but then I think she was we had already had our first kid. So like at 39, she's like, I want a kid. And I was 43. We never thought we'd have kids.
Wow.
Are you going to do kids? We didn't want kids.
I don't want kids. I don't want kids. I'm freezing my eggs in a couple years, just in case, but no.
Yeah. We didn't want kids either. And then what happened was we started hanging out with women who were like breastfeeding, and we were hanging around some other people like who we thought were like jackasses, and they were doing a good job raising their kids. And my wife's like, dude, we could do this. We're like, we're like just like slightly less jackasses than them. And that breastfeeding shit looks fun. She's like, let's just have one. I was like, all right.
So how many do you have?
Now I have 3. What happened was we had the first one and then we just stopped practicing safe sex. Safe sex.
I thought they just multiplied.
No, you have to bone and you have to do it irresponsibly.
Too much work.
Yeah, I bet you're gonna end up having one.
We'll see.
It'll be just something like you end up being like, I suspect it'll be like my wife. I'll take one of those. But we never thought we wanted one. So yeah.
That's really gonna give my mom hope.
Good. And you're so young still. Now it's okay to. Why is your business called hybrid? What does that mean? Hybrid. It runs on solar. Your business runs on solar and conventional electricity.
No, not really. We started hybrid when we were both competing in Olympic weightlifting and in powerlifting, and that started kind of catching the interest of a lot of people. Just the training style was a little bit on the unconventional side. At that point in time, Olympic weightlifting was the style of training and programming that people used to do was solely focused on snatch and clean and jerk, and it kind of thought about the squat and the deadlift as accessory movements to the snatch and clean and jerk, whereas we were doing the squat and the deadlift as primary exercises to complement the snatch and the clean and jerk. So essentially we flipped the model and started focusing on having a strength backbone to our program and started making a lot of progress. And people were really curious because our physiques changed a lot since we were focusing on strength and building some lean mass as well. And then our lifts were going up in parallel because our technique was dialed in. So that's how we came up with the slogan, hybrid lifting, was look like a bodybuilder, lift like a power lifter, move like a weightlifter.
Oh,
that's where it comes from.
That's cool. Why did you explore that?
Honestly, just because there seemed to be an organic interest in that style of training. So Hayden used to own, I don't know if you know the company Working Against Gravity.
I've heard of them. They're the nutrition people?
Yeah. Okay. So that used to be Hayden's company. He sold his shares to his ex-girlfriend, Adi. But he had experience in online building online businesses. So because people were asking us, we actually, at that point, I think I had like 3,000 followers. He had like 12,000 followers. And we posted a photo with a poll asking if people would be interested to email, whatever email it was. And we got about 400 requests from that. So it seemed like it was what people needed, what people wanted, and it was something that we felt comfortable in delivering.
Guys, the reason that she gave those numbers, like 11,000 and 3,000 for, let's say, 15,000 Instagram subscribers, and then you have 400 people sign up. Is there something in the business that they call conversion? And like a really strong conversion rate, or a normal conversion rate, would be 0.25%. So if you had, you would need, it's bad. The conversion rate on Instagram is really, really bad. Basically, in all social media is really, really bad. So basically, to have 400 people move the needle or jump in and want to participate, it's a massive, it's a massive conversion rate. Mm-hmm. And then, how did you two meet?
We met at a weightlifting competition.
And was he a competitor also?
So, okay, the real story is he was in Miami for a weightlifting competition. At that point in time, I had a side hustle I was making singlets in Venezuela from this guy named Wilmer. So I would purchase the singlets for like $1.17, and then I would sell them here for $85. So that would be my side hustle in grad school. And he saw that I was selling singlets. They were actually pretty cool. So he messaged me asking for one, sliding in the DMs, and then inviting me for coffee.
Did he really?
No. He admitted afterwards that he didn't really want a singlet, that he wanted to go on a date.
Wow, that's awesome. It was interesting what you were saying that you wanted as a kid. You wanted autonomy in the workplace. You wanted money. You were naming off all these things. And I was thinking, as a guy, it's like, you just want girls to like you. Like, life is so simple. Like, it's like, or boys to like you. You just want someone to want to fuck you. Like, that's like, it's starts off, you just want someone to babysit you, then you want someone to bathe you and wipe your butt, and then eventually you want them to, as you get older, you get like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, you want to start doing more and more with them until you're a man. Then you want everything. And when was this? When did you guys meet?
We met in 2015.
So it's 6 years. And how long has hybrid been around?
Since 2016.
Okay. And is he basically a co-founder with you? It's basically like,
yeah. Yep.
And do you sit down and have like a long-term vision for this, or is it more
No, that's what's really interesting. When we first started, I was the one that didn't really believe that it could become anything big. For me, at that point in time, it was just another side hustle. I've had many in my life. It was one of the ones that I was going to do for a little bit and then probably figure out how to get a real job, quote unquote. Hayden did think that there was a lot of potential in the idea. And of course, I backed him up as I helped as much as I could. But honestly, no, I mean, it got to a point because we were growing so fast and exponentially from month to month that after just maybe 3 or 4 months, I could already see that it was going to become something big, but I never thought it was going to become as big as it is now, employing, over 60 people, being able to, or having funded 3 other successful businesses on top of that, and just being the size that we are.
60 people?
Yeah.
And where you're based out of Miami?
Yeah, we're based out of Miami. We went from being coaches, so just writing workouts and putting them on a software. We went from that to actually building software that we can sell. So now we don't consider ourselves coaches anymore. We consider ourselves that we are in the software as a service business, in the SaaS business.
Is it important to change your identity or the way you think about yourself? Like, why is that important?
Yeah, it absolutely is, because the identity that you ascribe yourself to essentially is going to determine what you're going to focus on, where you're going to direct your efforts, and what direction you're going to continue moving forward. If we would have stayed in the mentality of, I'm just going to be a coach, then say all my free time I would have spent reading more about strength and conditioning, reading more about how to get 1% stronger, or I don't know what, nutrition, whatever that was. Whereas we spent more time learning more about machine learning, learning about software engineering, bringing in the right people, and obviously creating a structural organization that made sense for the goals that we had.
I'm 49. You're 29?
Yeah.
Yeah, you may have just explained something to me that I've been digging around, wondering what's the importance of it for 40 years. Did you ever want to be anything when you were a kid?
I wanted to be rich, and I wanted to be a professional athlete.
Yeah. And did it matter what kind of athlete? No. And are you a professional athlete? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the definition of a professional athlete is when you get paid to compete.
Right. Because then, and you've kind of taken it to the upper echelons of that. Not only then were you a professional athlete, but then you redefined what was capable in the sport by setting world records. Mm-hmm. Hey, so you have, I want to accuse you of sneaky numbers here. You ready? Right. You get, I don't know what they are, but you get a world record like in deadlift. That's crazy. Yeah. We'll circle back. I don't mean to like go over it like it's not a big deal. And then you get a world record in like a bench press, right? And then you get a world record in back squats. So you get like these 3 world records, and then you get a 4th world record because it's the combined score of all 3 of them. Correct. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm just gonna give you 3. I can't give you 4 for that. No, I can. But I was like, I was listening to that. I'm like, wow, that's great. I really like how you get the 4th world record doing that. Yeah, no, I mean, it does matter because, there's been times where, I don't know, people can chip that by 1 pound, and it's just the accumulation of it. That also matters. The total amount of volume you move. Yeah. And it's, I guess it's equivalent to like in basketball, they have something called like the triple double. That's like how many points you scored, how many blocks, and how many assists. And that's just as important as like how many points you scored, right? How many times did I pass the ball to you that you scored? How many times block shots did I block? So it's kind of like that. It's like the triple double. It's like being good everywhere at the same time. Not especially. Do you know this other Venezuelan Jew that's he's like the shortest, greatest tennis player in the world? He's a dude.
No. What's his name? Should I know who he is?
Man, someone needs to Google it and write it in the comments. He's like the 10th. He's like the 10th best male tennis player in the world. But he's only like 5'9" or 5'10". He was just in the U.S. Open. I think he was in the U.S. Open. He's awesome. But anyway, I told my tennis instructor, I was like, hey, I'm pulling my kid out of tennis, my kid's tennis instructor. And he goes, why? And I said, because the average height of the top 500 male tennis players in the world is 6'1". And I go, my kids will be lucky if he breaks 5'5". And he goes, oh, how about this guy in Venezuela? He's 5'10". I'm like, dude, that's still 5 inches taller than my kid will ever be. I was joking. My kid still plays tennis.
Have you heard of the femur lengthening surgery that people are doing now?
Oh, tell me. Please tell me.
Bro, it's insane. So there's this doctor, I forgot where he's from. I don't even know. I think it's from here. But anyway, so they do this thing where they go in and they separate your femur. And then...
What do you mean they separate? They like saw it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They saw your femur. And then they put this apparatus that has like 2 sticks sticking out. And then 3 times a day, you're supposed to like push it open like a little bit more. It's like, I don't know by how much, a millimeter or whatever at a time. And you do that until you reach your desired height. And people are gaining like, I don't know, anywhere from like 3 to 6, and it can't be inches.
Centimeters?
Centimeters. No, way more than that. Way more than that. So inches, yeah. 3 to 6 inches.
Oh, someone said Schwartzman, Diego Schwartzman. Diego Schwartzman. Yeah, you should reach out to him. That's another one. Look at me. I'm like a matchmaker. Sorry, Hayden. Hayden, don't worry, Hayden. He's probably he's gay. He's gay. I don't know if he's gay.
I wrote him down.
Do you have an opinion on that? On the leg? My immediate harsh judgment is I disapprove.
Right, yeah, no. I think that's way too extreme. And people I saw the results, people don't walk the same after that. They really don't. And think about it, like you're just increasing the length of the femur. What happens with proportions? How is that going to affect everything up and down the chain? Now you have a femur that is 5 inches longer. Your tibia is still the same size.
I know. So I had that same surgery on my nose. Right. Thinking that it would make me smell better. And look how it fucked me up. Took off all my weightlifting got fucked up. My center of mass. My forward. Yeah, my midline got screwed up. Yeah. So you come to the United States. You came by yourself?
Yeah.
At 17?
Yeah.
You can't call me sexist. You can't can you send a 17-year-old girl, pretty girl to the United States by herself?
Yeah, apparently.
Who looks after you?
The school. I was sleeping in the dorms, so at least I had some structure. Guidance.
And were you a good student?
No, school was really difficult for me my entire life, especially going. I was bilingual. I managed English fairly well, but it was still really difficult for me to learn and retain information in English, and then get used to the testing methods here with the Scantron and multiple choice. Like, we didn't have that back home. It was mostly short answer.
That's interesting. Do you still have trouble retaining information in English?
In English, yeah. Like, for example, I can memorize an entire song in Spanish in maybe 4 or 5 times that I hear it. And a song in English, it'll take me a few days.
Wow, that's fascinating. My first language is Armenian. I'm amazing at remembering numbers and like math and but I English shit, like I can't remember a movie I watched. Like a week later, it's like people be like quoting lines from it. I'm like, what's that from? They're like, dude, it was the movie we saw.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm learning all sorts of stuff.
So no, I wasn't really a good student. I was an average student, and if I really, 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 really applied myself, I wasn't a good student.
How old were you when you learned English?
I went to a bilingual school all the way from kindergarten all the way to high school.
Wow. Can I get shorter so my snatch distance to the floor is above is short? Now people are getting all excited about making somebody taller in the comments. Can you see the comments?
No, no, I can't.
Oh, it's if you go to the Sevan Podcast YouTube station, you could see them pop up if you want. Stefi, would you say that ATG knees over toes or 90%? I don't even know what that means. Do you know what that means?
Grass, Sevan, come on.
Oh yeah. Stefi, would you say ass to grass, knees over toes or 90%? Oh, does that mean like when you're in the bottom, you're catching it in the bottom of the hole, should your knees be over your toes?
Yeah, obviously there's no other way. If your ass is all the way down to the floor, there's no other way for you to be in that position if your toes aren't over your knees aren't over your toes.
There you go. See, duh, Gershwin, duh. She almost rolled her eyes at you, dude, but not quite. In the video that you made with Heber and Mars.
Oh, what's crazy?
That wasn't my porn, guys.
That was an ad from your YouTube that I just opened.
You said you started with CrossFit, which knocked me like out of my seat, kind of like I was just shocked. But I shouldn't be.
Why were you shocked?
Because I just expect that community, the powerlifting, all that community, just the big old strong dudes who are just lifting heavy shit just to hate shit on CrossFit and hate CrossFit. It's just a defensive. I'm just stuck in a permanent defensive state for that. You know what I mean?
You know what? I think they came around. I didn't really like that aspect of the powerlifting community when I first got into it, but it changed. I started realizing that the only reason why there were people doing powerlifting was because of CrossFit. You know, CrossFit was kind of the bridge. The people that and you know what? I didn't even know about powerlifting before CrossFit. So
right.
It's kind of what gives people an introduction to lifting.
Right, of course. And there is no reason for it. Greg Glassman said this thing one time to me. He said, if you're going to help your cardiovascular capacity, if you want to help your cardiovascular health, you have to make some risk with orthopedic calamity. Meaning like I get off the couch and there's a chance I'm going to be injured. Right? And then there's people like you and Matt Fraser and Tia Toomey and this, I don't know if does the same thing you do, but the half door guy that fought on your card.
Yeah. They
take this shit to extreme. I guess there's me driving my kids to school, and then there's the Formula One guys, right?
Yeah.
In that Formula One race car, do you know who Alexander Volkanovski is? Sorry, I'm all over the place. Do you know who that is?
No.
He's 2 or 3 fights away from being the greatest living fighter alive today. He's the lightweight champion in the UFC. He's 23-1 Australian guy, and he got COVID and he got pretty sick from it. And I was explaining to him, I said, hey, and he was telling me about how much carbs he eats, right? Because he works out to what do you say? He works out to fuel his needs, right? And I said, hey, you know, a Formula One race car goes 200 miles an hour, but if it hits a pothole, it's fucked, right? And if you eat a shitload of carbs, you're going to have a lot of hormonal reaction. Would you agree with that?
No.
No? Okay. Well, this is what I told him, so you can unfuck me in a second. I told him if you eat a lot of carbs, especially refined carbs, you're going to get a lot of insulin in your system, and that insulin in your bloodstream affects your don't worry, you can say anything nasty to me. I'm unoffendable.
No, go on.
That if you get a lot of insulin in your bloodstream, anytime you increase the traffic in your bloodstream, you affect the ability of NK cells and T cells to do their job. And so you may appear to be fucking just healthy as shit, and you may be like pushing the outer limits. But when you push the outer limits, when you do more than just get off the couch and swing the other way, like a Stefi Cohen, Alexander Volkanovski, a Matt Fraser, that there becomes a point where it's dangerous. I'd be willing to use a different word. Your thoughts, ma'am? I know that was a lot.
I mean, my thoughts on the whole insulin chain and it affecting somebody's long-term health or short-term, long-term health.
Immune system specifically.
Immune systems. Okay, so I'm not very well versed in the literature as far as carbohydrate or processed carbohydrates leading to a decrease in immunity, essentially. But I would have to read up on that. But I don't know. Usually, like, I lean into the direction of everything being multivariant. If he was experiencing a decrease in health or a decline in health, likely it's a multitude of factors. I don't feel like it's fair to blame it on only one thing. Yeah, maybe the processed carbohydrates were contributing already to something pre-existing that he had that led to the decrease in immune factors for him. But it's unfair to blame it just on one thing, you know? And he would have had to be consuming a crazy amount of them as well. It's the excess of that too.
Right. Let me word it a different way. And how heavy did you start deadlifting before it became dangerous? Like when what was the first amount weight you ever deadlifted? Did you deadlift like 95 pounds one time?
No, I always deadlifted more than that. I think the first time that I maxed out was like 225.
Oh yeah, shit. What did I see? I saw some number that the first time you ever sumoed, you sumoed 315. Is that true?
315.
That's fucking nuts. That's 5 pounds under my max, and I could be lying. Sometimes I wonder when I tell people that I deadlifted 320 once, like I wonder if I'm lying. Do you ever wonder if you're lying when you're like, yeah, I deadlifted 545? Do you ever feel like
sometimes I accidentally lie by like 5 pounds.
Sometimes what you undersay it by 5 pounds?
No, it's plus or minus 5 pounds. Sometimes for some reason I know I'm lying, but sometimes I like say 540 just because I don't feel like saying 545, and sometimes I say 550. I don't know why.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's weird. Okay, so the first time you deadlifted, when did you start deadlifting? And you're like, okay, this is like fuck, these vertebrae better be all lined up in the right fucking way.
So like, when did I start realizing that I was getting fucked?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Did you get fucked? I mean, yeah, it sounds like you've had some back issues. Yeah,
I did. I think it was like 2 years in. So right after the beginner gains stopped and I was starting to have to work really hard for improvements in my max, I think that's when it started kind of falling apart a little bit, and I started having to adjust my strategy to stay in one piece. My mindset quickly went from how fast can I get strong to how long can I stay injury free, and that was really interesting for me to experience, because anybody can tell you, any athlete, especially any young athlete, you feel invincible. You hear about all these stories of people getting hurt doing XYZ, training because they were overtraining, because they were deadlifting too much, because they were lifting too much, whatever it was. But you never think it's going to happen to you until it does. And then you really have to reevaluate things. And something as simple as programming, organizing your training, periodizing your training becomes a really complex algorithm, because now there's all these other variables that you didn't account for, like your right hip bugging you, like your left knee being all wonky, like your right freaking ankle falling apart. And you have to figure it out again and again and again and again. Every training cycle, something different hurts.
How heavy were you deadlifting when that happened, when the beginner gains started going away?
I think I had reached mid 400s.
I was like around the mid 200s.
Yeah, some people
don't laugh. That's not cool. That's not cool.
I'm making fun of it. People have different resiliencies. I'm not saying you're an inferior human being, but maybe I am.
Do you know how strong I felt when I deadlifted 250?
Sure, you felt strong as hell.
Holy shit. God damn. I remember the first time I deadlifted 135.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh. Do you remember the first time you benched 135?
Yeah, that I do. That's a plate.
Do you like to put the plates on yourself?
Nah.
No.
No, why would I? I way rather someone does it for me.
I noticed that about you guys. People put the plates on for you. I like to do it because it's just it's part of like maybe it's just a built-in rest, or it's like the meditative process. It's like the tea party, it's just a part of the meditation. No.
Yeah, definitely it's a you thing.
Yeah. I don't think it's a me thing. I think that you get so strong after a while, you're just like, yo, bitch, put the weights on.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it's kind of like a respect thing. All the kids that train in my gym wanted to put the plates on my bar.
Yeah. How about spotters? How important is it to trust your spotters?
Yo, I don't trust any spotters.
What'd you say?
I don't trust spotters.
No. Okay. Tell me about that.
Nah, because I come from a weightlifting background, I learned how to bail on my lifts safely. So I either set the safety pins at a height that I know that I can just dump the bar into without breaking it, or I lift on bumpers and I can just drop it behind me. Especially in a squat, because you know what happens if you have two spotters, one on each side, they're never gonna pick up the weight equally.
Yeah.
So there's been many occasions where someone, I fail a lift and one person pulls it up really high and the other person doesn't. And then your back is all like funny with 500 pounds on your back, and that doesn't feel good. But
have you ever
trust them?
Have you ever been injured by your spotters or a failed lift or something that went awry?
I've been injured by a failed lift. Yeah, that was the beginning of my back pain journey, essentially. I was preparing for the 2017 US Open, which is the biggest competition in powerlifting. It's like a yearly one that everybody goes to kind of thing. And my back was bugging me. And I don't know. It's so funny because I was in physical therapy school at the time. And if anybody else in my position would have come to me for advice, I would have given them a completely different advice than what I was doing. So I just was hoping that it would magically go away, that I'd magically come into training and it wouldn't hurt. I just kept increasing the amount of ibuprofen that I was taking all the way to like a gram before training, which is extremely excessive. And yeah, it was just one of those days.
Hold on. Wait. A gram. So
1,000 milligrams of ibuprofen.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for doing the math for me. Thank you.
Way too much. And I just came in and I had a heavy triple in the squat program for that day. And even though I knew I shouldn't even attempt that because my back was bugging me so much, I did. And I ended up pinned by the squat at the bottom of the squat, and then filled it into the safeties, and then was legit just immobilized for half an hour. Couldn't even take my belt off, was just laying on the ground. And that was the beginning of like a really bad back pain episode.
Did you cry?
No.
Do you cry?
Yeah.
Did you ever hurt your back so much that you had to like to pee, you had to crawl into the shower?
No, but I've hurt my back so bad that I needed help putting my pants on and off and tying my shoes. Yeah,
I got you beat. Yeah, man, fuck. I was in a hotel room and I don't know what happened. I hurt my back. But you know what's crazy? So then this friend of mine who's a doctor, I was in there for 2 days in this hotel room, and I would have to crawl into the bathtub to pee. I was so fucked up. And then this doctor said, hey, I just gave you a prescription for Flexerol and Vicodin at the CVS. And it was 1.5 miles away. And I just fucking bit a rag and forced myself to get dressed. Yeah. And for me, whenever I'm hurt, I want to start sweating. I want to be as hot as I can. So I put on just shirts and sweatshirts and long johns and pants. And I walked 1.5 miles to the CVS. And I swear to God, just placebo or just knowing, even before I put the Flexerol and Vicodin in my mouth, like 90% of the pain was gone.
Oh, for sure. That's motion and flow. The best thing that you can do when your back hurts is keep moving. And it's so counter to what everyone thinks. And it's so counter to kind of an old school approach to back injuries, especially by MDs, by physicians. They'll tell you to lay in bed and bed rest. And that's the complete opposite of what you want to do.
When I first took my L1 in 2006 or 7, I can't remember, at CrossFit, and Greg would do all the lectures. I remember he said something like, the mama lion gets in a fucking battle and has fucking like her paw torn off, but wins the battle. She doesn't take tomorrow off. She's made to heal on the fucking move. Mm-hmm. We're all made to heal on the move. Yeah, the back thing's this is kind of a hard one to ask you, but if I sleep for more than 6 or 7 hours, when I wake up, my back hurts. If I like go to bed at 1 and I have a podcast at 7 and I get up, my back doesn't hurt. So something's happening around the 6 or 7 hour mark. It's pretty consistent. And when I do my first piss in the morning, like I have to lean against the wall like an old dude. You know what I mean? Like you probably, since you're not a dude, you might not know, but there's like the drunken lean. You put your hand on the wall in front of you and you kind of lean over and your dick just kind of points into the toilet. Right. Huh. Well, this, I wouldn't talk like this to you like this, but I know you're a doctor and you're okay with this.
Totally fine. It's appropriate.
But within an hour, it goes away. I have my first cup of coffee. I open the blinds. I walk around my yard and pick up dog poop. You know, I have my routine, you know, with the bags, and I'm perfectly fine. Do you have that? Do you wake up in the morning? I don't know what the female equivalent is to leaning against the wall to pee.
For me, it would be leaning into the sink to brush my teeth.
Oh, and you struggle with that in the morning? Not
anymore, but I used to. Like when I had really bad back pain, I used to. How long?
So you're all good.
How long was that been going on for you?
5 years. I basically, I injured myself once really bad when I had kids, and since then I just basically stopped everything. And by stopped everything, like I do squats with a 40-pound medicine ball. I ride the assault bike. I do a shitload of push-ups and pull-ups, but I stopped once, like I can't remember the last time I power cleaned or I don't ever deadlift over 135 anymore. I'm like just terrified of hurting myself again.
Okay, you're saying some really interesting things. Before I go back to that, does leaning forward make your symptoms better? So what? Because you're
kind of, but I don't have muscle engagement. Yeah. So yeah. Do you know child's pose?
Yeah.
Feels so good.
Okay.
And basically 2 days ago, after watching all your videos, and I had heard this like 10 years ago when my back first started bothering me, some yoga guys like, hey, you got to start doing back extensions. Basically, Superman's on the ground. And I heard you say in an interview, I don't know if it was with that 4-hour work week guy, I think.
Yeah.
Tim Ferriss. It was. Yeah. Who?
Tim Ferriss.
Yes. Yeah. And you said something about there being a correlation between people who can hold a back extension and having good backs. I was like, fuck. Thank you, Stefi.
Yeah.
People have been telling this to me for 10 years, but when I heard you say it, it stuck.
Yeah.
So yesterday I started doing those.
It's not a matter of back strength. It's low back endurance is more important than low back strength because the muscles of your back are postural muscles that are supposed to be on all the time. So that's how you should be training them. But yeah, I mean, you said some interesting things. I mean, there's two kind of approaches when it comes to evaluating and treating low back pain. There's a structural or mechanical approach, and then there's a psychosocial approach. Usually therapists lean in one direction more than the other. The beauty of being me is that I don't treat people, so I don't have any vested interest in either camp or either form of treatment. I'm completely unbiased, and I'm just basing my opinion on facts, on what I've read on the most recent literature. So essentially the structural approach talks about there being some sort of physical damage to a structure. That type of injury accounts for a very small percentage of the total amount of low back pain cases. So it's not necessarily the case unless it's kind of like an acute injury, something that a traumatic acute thing, something that happened when you were lifting or you fell, you got in a car accident or something like that. Most cases are what's considered persistent pain or chronic pain. And in those cases, you lean more into the biopsychosocial model, which basically looks at the relationship that you have of pain with your emotions and how you're interpreting that pain, how your brain is consciously and subconsciously interpreting that pain. So for you, for example, you said, I'm staying away from weights because I'm scared of hurting my back again. That is like 100% something that I would lean the conversation into the biopsychosocial side to try to figure out why that is. What about weights? What about those movements is triggering kind of like that perceptual response, and why is that perpetuating your pain cycle essentially?
A trippy thing about it is like, so I wake up in the morning and if I bend over just a tiny bit at the waist, it feels like I'm just going to fall over right on my face. I have no muscle engagement. I can't stop it. Nothing. An hour later, that's gone. I can bend over and touch my toes.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah.
So maybe you're saying that something could have had, like, you're saying that like Uncle Buck could have got to me at 7 years old, and that's why I'm attached to my back hurting.
I I mean, maybe, or maybe it had nothing to do with your back. Maybe it had something to do with something else related to pain. So, for example, the way I like to explain this is as pain as a smoke alarm. So this was a concept that I learned from Dr. Greg Lehman. Basically, what he says is that when you comparing pain to a smoke alarm means that when there's smoke in your kitchen, for example, and something's burning, your alarm goes off, but maybe you're just making bacon, right? But the alarm is there to tell you there's a fire. But in this case, the alarm is just being overly sensitive and it's telling you that there's a fire when in reality it's just smoke. Or maybe it goes off for no reason. Maybe there's not even smoke. Maybe you're just boiling vegetables, and that the evaporation of the air for some reason triggered the alarm on. So that same thing happens to our brains. Sometimes there's no perceived threat or danger, yet our brain is interpreting a situation as threatening or dangerous, when in reality, there's nothing there for you to be afraid of. Dr. Lorimer Mosley also talks about that on one of his TED Talks in one of his lectures, I can't remember. But he's a neuroscientist. And he's telling a story about one time that he went out hiking and a snake bit him, a poisonous snake bit him. And he'd been on that mountain many times before, and he just thought that it was a branch that brushed his leg. And a few minutes later, he was passed out on the ground, and his wife found him, took him to the ER, and it appeared that he had been bitten by a venomous snake. A couple of years later, he went to the same trail, and he effectively got just brushed by a branch. And his reaction was like, he started screaming. He was panicking. He was like holding his leg. He thought that he had been bitten by a snake, and it felt as if he got bitten by a snake. And it's just that built-in kind of preservation, self-defense mechanism of your brain that tricked him into thinking that he was experiencing pain, when in reality it was just a branch that brushed his leg. So there's a really interesting kind of memory thing with pain. We know that there's neuroplasticity changes that happen in your brain after you experience pain. Like you start actually forming these connections in your brain that prepare you in case that you encounter a situation like that in the future. And in some cases, it turns up the sensitivity of your brain to external stimuli. So I'm
so susceptible to something shit like that.
Most of us are.
It's a yellow hardback book. The author is Stefi Cohen. The name of it is Back in Motion. Back in Motion. Why isn't there an audiobook of that? I looked and I couldn't get it.
I know, yeah. We just haven't done that. I've been writing another book.
Hayden?
I'm not that.
Hayden
can do it? You think?
Hayden?
Narrated?
Dude, we started the podcast, but he doesn't have to narrate it. He's the what is he? Hayden's the he's the business guy. He's the startup guy.
Yeah.
Hayden, get that audiobook done.
I'm gonna tell him.
Tell me about meeting Noah in your journey into CrossFit. Like, what school were you at? Was he always smiley and nice? All that shit.
He was.
Did you guys date?
No.
Okay.
I didn't close. I wasn't interested.
Of course he was.
I'm
yes.
kidding. Oh. Yeah. So we met at the University of Miami. We were both in the same program. It was the exercise physiology undergraduate program, and he was in one of my ex-phys classes, I think. And I knew that he went from actually playing water polo with a buddy of mine, with Fortu. He was on the water polo club team or whatever it was. And then I remember he went from he was ripped but skinny and small, and then all of a sudden he started getting bigger and like super jacked, and CrossFit started popping, and he started being, one of the cool guys that everybody wanted to hang out with. And I was playing soccer with a female club at the time, but it was like recreational soccer, and was really itching to try something competitive again. I wasn't ready to let go of that part of my identity, really. I thought I was, but I wasn't. So I asked him about CrossFit in one of our classes, and he said that he trained at Peak 360, that I should just stop by. I was only 3 miles away from campus. I had a bike. So I biked there and was happily greeted by Noah. He was being his bubbly, welcoming, friendly self. And yeah, that's kind of how I got my introduction into weightlifting, into CrossFit, and
Was Guido your instructor there?
Yeah,
What's his last name?
Trinidad.
Yeah, that's right.
Hmm. Yeah,
He's
yeah.
cool. He's cool too, right?
Such a nice dude. Really, him and his wife Virginia, both amazing people.
Do you live close to there now?
Yeah, I do. I live right by campus still.
And do you ever see these people? Do you ever see Noah or Guido or?
Yeah, I train with Noah from time to time. Stop by Peak, say hi, lift some weights.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
It's such a small world. There's this another trippy thing is when I was looking at your Instagram. I don't know why it's trippy to me, but it just seems like such a small world. Is the Sarah Bachman lady?
Yeah, yeah.
Does she live in Miami? Yeah.
She lives in Tampa.
And are you guys friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a trip. Last night I had John Brzezinski on. Are you familiar with that name?
No.
So I made a movie about him. It's called Pulling John. It's a documentary. He's the greatest living arm wrestler of all time. Without trying to like offend Matt or Rich or Michael Jordan, his dominance in the sport of arm wrestling is like he has no peer in any other sport that I've ever heard of. I mean, he is something extremely special. And I asked him yesterday, I said, hey, I'm going to have Stefi Cohen on. And, she has a world record deadlift of over 500 pounds. And then the men's deadlift world record is like 1,000 pounds, double that. And I go, is it like that in arm wrestling? I go, is it the discrepancy that big? And I brought up Sarah's name and he said she was just strong as shit. He said he was saying that she in the sport of arm wrestling that she would give most dudes a fit.
For sure. Well, but at the same time with powerlifting, I mean, you should compare a female and male of the same weight class.
Ah, okay, good point.
Yeah. So
very good point. And that is what he did, in all fairness. See, that's why you're a doctor and I'm just some dude who's trying to get to 500 podcasts. What is the world record for a 115-pound dude, 120-pound dude in deadlift? Do we know?
I don't know, but we can look it up. But I'm pretty sure
someone will tell us.
Yeah.
Martin Adams says, "Hi, Stefi.
Hi.
Why STEFI?
That's a question?
No, that's my question.
Oh, because
you're like, that's a fucking idiot. Why is that a common spelling for Stefi? Is there some sort of Venezuela? What's your real name? Is that your real name?
My real name is Stephanie, but it's a French heritage. My dad is French.
Okay.
That's why it's spelled with an F.
Okay. I've never seen it. So it's common in like in
France, yeah, it's spelled with an F.
A couple years ago, you reached out to Matt Fraser, or Matt Fraser reached out to you?
Matt Fraser reached out to me when he was still competing because he wanted to perfect his deadlift.
Can you tell me some details about that? Like he just slid into your DMs, or you guys had a mutual friend, or?
Look, hold on. I found the number for deadlift. The biggest one I found or the heaviest one is 451 at that weight class.
Kilos?
Pounds. And mine's 545.
Holy shit.
Yeah. But I mean, it's also because like how many guys weigh what I weigh. And in the weight class above, in the 123 class, it's 598 is the heaviest one I found.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So not too far.
Are men stronger than women?
I think generally speaking, yeah.
Could the strongest person alive be a woman?
Pound for pound. Or absolute?
Either.
Pound for pound, yeah.
An absolute, probably not, just because women don't get as big.
Yeah.
Man, that's cool. That's really cool. Did you really sleep for 16 hours once, or were you just joking?
No. Listen. If I think my superpower actually is not strength, is my ability to sleep. It's unbelievable. Look, I went on a Indian motorcycle trip, so it was a 3-day long trip.
I watched the video.
Yeah, we spent like 8 to 10 hours on the bike.
Your first vlog.
Yeah, yeah. It's so pathetic. It's so bad. I'm never doing that again. Anyway, so second day, Hayden's bike broke, whatever. We had to leave it in the middle of the road, and I had to ride bitch. So I had to ride on the back of somebody's bike, of course. And man, it was so boring to just be on the back. I fell asleep going 110 miles per hour for an hour and a half. Just like this on the back. My arms were like flailing in the wind.
Was there a belt around you and the dude in Hayden?
No, I wasn't on Hayden's. I would never ride on the back of Hayden's bike. I don't trust him like that. He doesn't have.
Whose bike were you on?
It was Sean McD.
The guy, the Indian guy, like he's kind of like a pro rider.
He's the guy.
Yeah. Were you strapped to him?
No, I was just leaning forward.
Did he know you were asleep?
He said he noticed like after 10 minutes because I was like flinching, like sleep flinching. Like that.
Oh yeah, twitching.
Yeah, that.
Oh my God. Oh, if you sleep for 16 hours, would you get up to go pee?
Likely I get up to go pee and brush my teeth again because that's technically 2 sleeps.
Yeah.
You know? So probably at the half-hour mark, I'm brushing my teeth, peeing, and going back to sleep.
Do you prefer to brush your teeth or floss your teeth?
In the middle of a sleep.
No, just in general. Like, do you have a favorite?
Oh no, I have to do both. I have to do actually water pick, floss, brush, water pick, floss.
Wow, I don't water pick, but man, flossing, like I like to go on Amazon and just order 10 things of floss, which are expensive.
Dude, order a water pick. It's about to change your life.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good, and it makes your gums so healthy. Because it actually massages the gum. Because think about it, with the floss you go in and down, and sometimes you're poke your gum.
Yeah.
With floss you massage your gum, and some of the stuff actually comes out.
What brand?
Any there's the one I like is one that's on Amazon Prime. It's like $80. Is the best one. It's wireless.
Isn't it a pain filling up that water container and moving all and having it sit
Bro,
on your?
You know what's a pain? To lose your teeth. Think about it. You only have one set.
Look at you, like a real doctor and shit. You're like a real coach.
Oh man, I've seen horror stories of tooth stuff in my family. My mom getting teeth pulled out. What's it called when you have that thing? Root canal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard pass for me.
Oh, you got real ethnic there for a minute.
Yeah, it happens.
I like to have just dental floss everywhere, in every car, in all the glove boxes.
One of those.
The junk drawer. Yeah, just like that. Yeah.
What do you do with them after you use them in the car?
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah. The console, don't it?
I put it on the floor. How did you know that? I put it on the floor, and so and then my wife will get in the car, and there'll just be little strings all over on the floor on the mat.
That's disgusting.
Just sloppy. Just so sloppy.
It's a guy thing. I think just guys do shit like that. Picking their nose and just tossing it anywhere.
Yeah. I'll wipe it on my leg. No problem.
No, that's not okay.
I just wipe it on my leg.
Also not okay.
I'll wipe it on my sock. Hey, at least I outgrew eating it. So did you feel comfortable giving? So tell me about that again. So Matt calls you, or Matt slides into your DMs.
Yeah.
And he says, "Hey, Stefi, I'm Matt Fraser." You see the blue check mark. You're like, "Okay. Oh yeah, this is the CrossFit guy." You get back to him. You personally get back to him, or does he have to do what I do and have to talk to some third party?
No, I got back to him.
And then he says, "Hey, I need help with my deadlift, or I'd like to talk to you about deadlifting."
Yeah, he said, "I'm a big fan. I'll be in Miami. For Wadapalooza. I would love to stop by your gym and get a deadlift session in with you."
And then he comes, and is any part of you scared that you might hurt another, like what works for you won't work for someone else? And it's Jesus, it's like me bringing my car over to your house and asking you to paint it. And it's like a $600,000 car. You're like, fuck, I don't know. I'm a good painter, but Jesus.
No, not really. I'm confident in what I know and what I do.
Yeah, that's dope. That's exactly what I was asking. God, I'm trying to think. I guess that's how I feel about parenting. I'm kind of a borderline know-it-all about parenting. I feel so confident in how I'm raising my boys.
I might need to ask you some questions about that then.
How to raise Hayden?
Yeah. He needs a lot of help. He's stuck in Canada currently. Did you know that?
No, tell me about that, and then we'll get back to Matt. I love it. Canada and UK and Australia can go fuck themselves as far as I'm concerned.
Listen, we flew back from Dubai and he got banned. He got a 10-day ban because Canadians weren't allowed in the UK, and that was where his layover was in. And so he had to go back to Canada, spent a week there with his family. His parents said he hadn't seen him in a while, and then he lost his passport. In his passport was his visa, and now he's 10 months stuck in Canada. Yeah. Fuck.
How did he lose his passport, and what are you going to do? Are you going to put on a singlet and go over there and get him?
Bro, listen, that's why I was asking you about parenting. What are the repercussions of someone losing their passport and their visa and then being stuck away from home for 10 months?
Is that really true? I know the story's true. Is that really true? He's not going to be, you're not going to see him for 10 months?
I mean, we can meet in another country.
He can't just, there's no way to cross the border? He can't drive or some shit?
No.
Fuck, it's weird. Why can't he just go to the embassy and get all new shit?
Dude, exactly. And especially because it's a visa that already exists. It's not like they have to do all the background check and all of that. That's already been done. I don't understand why the process is like that either.
Oh shit, I figured it out.
Why?
He wants you to come there and marry him so you can bring him back. It's all a ploy. It's all a ploy. He wants to put a what's the song? He wants to put a ring on it.
We're engaged.
Can you do that then? Can you just go over there and?
Bro, I'm not married. I'm not getting married for those reasons. That's against my morals.
Do you have morals?
Yeah.
Are you religious?
I consider myself more like a stoic.
What's that mean?
I live by the principle of doing good by others and just doing what's right, giving back, having virtue, being just. That. Not getting caught in things of the past, trying to help everybody around me.
How did you find that?
What, stoicism?
What was your introduction?
Ryan Holiday.
Ah.
Yeah, Ryan Holiday was. I think I read his book, The Obstacle is the Way, first. And that was kind of my introduction. I never, I was raised in Judaism, but I was never really religious. I enjoy certain aspects of Judaism, like just the fact that there's holidays that bring families together. There's a lot of, good quote unquote rules, treat your parents right, treat everybody with respect. Like there's certain things that I really like about the religion, but I don't necessarily ascribe to believing in a God and really and believing the entire story of how everything came to be.
I went to that guy's Instagram account, Ryan Holiday, and I watched a few videos of his, and I couldn't help but not like him.
He has a very punchable face. But what about him did you not? What about what about him did you not like?
I don't think he has embodied what he's teaching. I think he's a classic. He's teaching what he needs to know the most himself.
He doesn't consider himself a stoic. I asked him a question on my podcast.
Oh, you had him on your podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay. I don't know him that well, but I saw some stuff that he had written and I thought, oh, this is really cool. I'll check out this guy's thing. And I was like, this guy I don't feel like he's created space and stillness in his life. I feel like he's still that he's a bit of a train wreck. For
sure. And I think he's a writer, he's an author, and he's a businessman, right? Like he is, and there's still value in what he does, in the sense that he's pretty much filtering and consolidating hundreds of thousands of years worth of information stemming back from Marcus Aurelius and other philosophers, and putting it in a way that's easy to understand. Like, if anybody listening or yourself even, have you ever read like original text from that point in time. It's like really, really difficult to decipher. Like I have a book that I try to write. I can't remember, Epictetus, and it has a bunch of just original text, and I just can't read that. So reading it from him and him being able to analogize some of those stories to stories that I can grasp that have happened in the last 50 to 100 years, that there's value in that. But yeah, he doesn't claim to even be a Stoic. I was curious about that as well. He just really enjoys learning and reading about it, and that's kind of how he got started into writing about it.
Do you know anything about Taoism?
Darwinism?
Taoism with a T. There's this book. It's called how the fuck can that slip my mind? The author's name is Stephen Mitchell, and it's the Tao Te Ching, TaoTeching. I think that's what it is. 3 words, Tao Te Ching. Okay. And Stephen Mitchell did the translation, and the pocket edition is like, I think it's everything that. It's amazing. It's the most amazing book ever written.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, you'll be stoked. You'll carry it with you everywhere. It's little like this.
Ooh, okay, I like that.
Yeah, you'll like it. You'll love it. So Matt comes to you, and do you guys hit it off? Do you guys get along? Are you guys friends still? Oh, well, I mean, you guys are in business together.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we hit it off just fine. I was really surprised in how humble and friendly he was. So there's a lot of people that when they achieve a certain level of success, they become arrogant, they lose that humility. But just the fact that he reached out and realized that there was something that I could teach him was enough for me to already like him.
And when you saw him deadlifting, were you like, okay, Matt, you should do this, and there were some pointers right away? You were like, I'd like to see you try this and try that.
Yeah, for sure. Of course. There's always something to work on.
And did he know your history? Did he know that you knew about CrossFit and had experienced it?
Yes.
Crazy. And then and now flash forward 2 years, and his training program, HWPO, is available through your company. You host. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
You have an app, you have a platform that he utilizes, and his people come to it, and they can, and when they come to his, they could also go to yours, or when they go to yours, they can also go to his.
Exactly.
For a different price point. It's a library. You have an app that's a library for training.
Exactly.
And there's 19 different training programs on there?
Yes.
And 19 different people?
So the app, I don't believe it hosts all 19 programs yet. It hosts 4 of them: the powerlifting, performance, the build, and the HWPO. So those are the 4 programs that are on the app right now.
Crazy. Were you just like, beside yourself when this thing launched with you and Matt? Were you like, holy shit, this is like peanut butter and jelly?
Yeah, pretty much. I knew it was gonna be a really good partnership from the beginning.
I mean, it's crazy. It kind of is like what needed to happen for all the communities. For sure. And
we've been doing this for so long, really, that obviously anybody can do it on their own. Matt could have done it on his own easily and been successful as well. But we've worked the kinks, for the last almost 6 years. We've been in the space, and yeah, we help each other out. And it's a pretty symbiotic relationship.
It speaks volumes of your program. I mean, I don't mean this like Matt's above you in any way. I mean it in the fact that I know Matt, and I know the CrossFit community more than I know you. I definitely had seen you around, but it was so limited. It was just by happen chance over the last 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously I've been steeped in Matt shit, right? Because it's CrossFit, right? And that's where I was. That's where I worked. And I figured he doesn't fuck around.
No, he's all business.
Yeah, and I was just shocked that he would go with someone else.
Me too.
Shocked.
We spent almost 2 years in negotiations.
Awesome. Awesome. Crazy. I'm so stoked for all of you. And it seems like it's crazy successful. And he's crazy. And he's embraced it to like no end.
Yeah. He's absolutely crushing, and yeah, the partnership's great.
What's next on that? Is there gonna be someone teaching jiu-jitsu on your platform next, or boxing, or
Boxing.
are you like, do you think that I've snuck into your emails when I say that?
I feel like you did, yeah. No, it's part of the natural progression of the app that we kind of had envisioned, of it becoming a marketplace for other coaches to be able to use our service. That's our all-inclusive service. So it's not only using the app, but it's also using the support team. So our marketing team, obviously our software engineers, our media team, but it be a platform that's reserved for a certain standard of trainer or of coach.
Do you know these jiu-jitsu? Are you familiar with the jiu-jitsu community at all?
No, not really.
There's this group of guys. You might want to just take a peek at it. It's called Daisy Fresh.
Daisy Fresh.
Yeah, and they're out of Mount Vernon, Illinois. And it's basically this guy. Yeah, Stefi, I think you would love this. This kind of resonates with your story of sending that guy money in Peru, or in Argentina and Venezuela, to get to Peru. This guy basically just rented out an abandoned dry cleaning place, and he started letting young boys stay there and sleep there overnight. And this guy was a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he started just training them in there. Wow. And they basically had, barely running water, no heat, no cold. And now 8 years later, like, the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world are coming out of this fucking abandoned dry cleaning place. It's nuts. The story is nuts. It's called Daisy Fresh. There's a YouTube series. It's called Daisy Fresh Season 1. It's so cool. It would be a fun thing to watch, like at 10 o'clock at night with your arm around Hayden, like when he comes back in 10 months. 10 months. I feel like this is going to be really inappropriate that I say this, but I feel like 10 months is too long to be away from your mate, and like other suitors could slip in.
I mean, you know what? I'm not concerned about that at all.
No, not. I mean, you shouldn't be concerned. I'm talking, he should fucking be concerned.
No, I mean, I'm so focused on what I'm doing right now in boxing that it's honestly, I hate to say it. I feel bad saying it, but it's almost like a blessing in disguise, because I haven't been able to give him that much attention anyway because of how busy I am. I train. So today I woke up at 5 a.m. I had training at 6:30. I had to go to the office, film a bunch of stuff, come back here, do the podcast, and I'll have another training session at 5:30.
Boxing, yeah. Do you have another fight lined up?
Yeah, December 26th.
Do you know who it's with?
No.
Then how do you know that you have one lined up?
Because I know that I'm going to fight on that card. Usually you find your opponent like 4 or 5 weeks out.
And where is the card?
In Switzerland. I don't know what city.
In Switzerland?
Mm-hmm.
Can't you just fight in Miami or Vegas or some shit?
Yeah, you could. But it's a business opportunity. I'm teaching seminars with my coach. So we're teaching 4 seminars. He's teaching the kind of tactic, boxing specific, and I'm teaching nutrition and strength and conditioning as it pertains to boxing. And
the seminars are after the boxing match, so that there's not a distraction.
No, they're before. We're teaching every weekend leading into the fight.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I've multitasked I've done sports at the highest level and school at the highest level and running a business for the last ever. So I'm used to it.
Holy shit. Hey, do you think that do you follow the CrossFit scene very much?
Not very much, but I do follow it.
Do you know about Ricky Garrard? He got suspended for drug use and he's coming back after 4 years.
Yeah.
Do you care that he used drugs? Like Matt gets like pretty hostile towards him.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I mean, I think that if you're competing in a drug tested event, then you shouldn't be doing the things that are illegal for you to do. At the same time, sports are so corrupt that I feel like more people are doing it than we're aware of. So it just sucks to be that one guy that's taking all the heat. Like I feel bad for him in that sense because I know he's not the only one, and people are treating him as if it's the only, the only person. No one else dares. Everybody else has such high morals and such high ethics, and they would never do it. When the reality of sports is that it's not like that. It's a lot more common than people think. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about what happened to that guy specifically.
He's the way I kind of heard the story that he told Chase, and I believe it because this could have easily have happened to me. He's 22 years old. Some friends like, hey, you should take this shit. It'll make you really, really fucking strong. He takes it, and then he goes to the regional event, and they test him, and he doesn't pop. So he's like, fuck it, good to go, load up. And he just started taking shitloads, and then he popped. And I remember giving a friend of mine saying in high school, hey, I'm going to Mexico, and I'm going to get steroids there, and I'm going to bring him back. And I'm like, oh, cool. And I gave him $100, and he came back, and I lost $100. He never gave me the steroids. And then even when I was watching the interview with Chase, and I've said this a bunch of times on my podcast, I'm sorry to beat a dead drum, but he said the stuff he took. It's called Rad 140. So while I'm watching the interview with Chase Ingram from CrossFit, I'm looking up the shit, and I find it, and I can just buy it online. And I put it in my shopping cart, and I'm about to buy it. But then I noticed as I hit the purchase button, this warning comes up that says it will enlarge my prostate. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm 49. Like, all my shit's running good. But I'm 49. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I drink 4 cups of coffee in a day, and it could break my shit. So, I don't know. The only person I think that should be upset is Pat Vellner. That's the guy that got pushed off the podium.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks because he didn't get the picture and all that shit.
I know. Yeah, that is pretty annoying.
All right, but you don't know him. You don't know Ricky.
No, I don't.
But you know it pisses Matt. You know it pisses Matt off. Like when I talk to Matt about it, he comes unhinged.
I've heard Matt talk about it.
Yeah, he gets on your motorcycle trip, how many times did you drop your motorcycle? Sorry, loaded question. I know stuff.
I counted that. I think it was like 15. Dude, it was bad. It was bad. It was so bad. It was so bad. But you know what? I blame them. They didn't ask me what my inseam was, and they didn't ask me what my weight was. And they gave me this monster of a motorcycle because I can lift a lot of weight. But it's not about the weight that you can lift. It's your proportions, right? Imagine I only have this much amount of weight on top of a 1,000-pound bike. Like it doesn't matter how strong you are. It's going to tilt in one way or the other. I can't reach the floor in my defense.
Had you ever dropped a bike before that?
No. I ride my bike almost every day, and I've never had that happen to me.
And the first time you dropped it, where were you? And were you just like completely like, holy shit?
I turned the bike on. Everybody turns their bikes on. We're driving. We're moving the bikes from far away in the parking lot to right in front of the hotel door so we can load the bikes up. And everyone's like turning their bikes, leaving, turning their bikes, leaving. And I'm left with Matt. It's just me and Matt. And I turn my bike on. And as soon as I let go a little bit of the clutch, boom, tilts toward the left. I'm like, fuck. Matt had to get off his bike, help me tilt the bike back up, head over to the in front of the door, and I dropped it again. And that's when I realized, all right, this is gonna be a problem.
So the first time I dropped the bike, actually I don't even know if I dropped it this time, but when a bike starts to fall over, you go to war with it, right?
Bruh.
And it feels like your whole body. It feels like did you try to go to war with it and like feel your back go out or anything?
I won a few of those battles. I did win a few of those battles, but most of them I lost. Yeah, it was bad.
So this 700 or 800 pound bike would start to go over, and you'd fucking buckle down and start trying to go to war with it.
Try as hard as I could. From the other side.
Okay. I'm panicking because we're running out of time, and I have 2 pages of notes. The fish, the fucking 800-pound fish.
They go like a grouper.
This is fucking ridiculous. This video. Tell me whose idea is it? Like the leverage you have on that. But for people who don't know, there's a video of her and her 2 friends. They go on this fishing boat and they catch these fish that they don't even look real. The fish are What were those fish?
Goliath groupers. Yeah, they look like prehistoric dinosaurs from the deep sea.
It's like catching a manatee. It's fucking
They're
ridiculous.
insane.
Anyway, so she's got this fishing pole and her leverage on it is so bad. Like, how does anyone, like, they have you like this?
Dude, the guy, Josh, the guy that took us fishing,
Yeah.
he can pull one of those on his own.
How?
Because, okay, so imagine this is the fishing pole.
Yeah.
What you do is that you have to anchor the fishing pole in between your legs, and then see, this is you standing, right?
Yeah.
And as the fish starts pulling the pole down and like it starts bending like this, you also have to squat, and eventually you end up in like a sissy squat position with your knees fully bent and like legit parallel to the ground. That's the end position, is like your knees are fully bent, you're like parallel to the ground, and the fish net rod is completely like this.
And that's when it catapults you out of the boat. Hey, that image of you holding the pen up like that and saying, "This is you." I'm gonna make that a little clip and repeat, and that's gonna be my promotion.
Perfect.
For the podcast. Was that fun? Did you like that trip?
No, I hated it.
Yeah.
I don't like fishing. I don't like fishing as it is. I'm not okay with taking animals out of the water or using fish for bait. And I didn't realize how against it I was until I was on that boat. And then I was so uncomfortable the whole time.
Have you been hunting?
No, and I don't think you can do it either.
Yeah, I need to do it because I don't think I can do it either. You mean like you're going to shoot the animal and you're going to start crying?
Yeah, I have nothing against people who do it, but like I just personally can't live with it. Dude, there was what are those big, not fire ants, like the bigger ones?
I don't know.
The red big
army ants or something? I don't know.
They're red, big, massive, whatever. We call them bachacos in Spanish. There was one of those inside my house, and I was about to step on it, and then I was like, "No, I can't do it." Like, why would I kill it? It's just in my house. It's not doing anything to me or anyone else. So I grabbed a piece of paper and I put them back outside. But yeah, I can't.
Before I had kids, I had this rule that everything that was in my house had to be caught and released. Yeah. But now, if black widows, my wife is like, "Hey, you can't do that. You got to kill them." So I kill them. You
have black widows in your house? Okay, but those are like, they can kill you.
I guess. I mean, that's the word on the street. I mean, I've never been bit. I don't know what's true or not true anymore.
I don't know.
Someone said velvet ant. Is it a velvet ant?
I don't know. The only thing that I've killed is a bufo toad because it almost killed my dog.
A what?
Bufo toad. We have these massive frogs here in Florida that they expel from their skin. People actually lick them. Because it has it's a similar thing than psilocybin. It's like a hallucinogenic thing, or than LSD. It's like LSD. And if your dog eats it, bites it, or gets sprayed by it, they can die.
So how big is it?
It's like this big.
How did you kill it? With like a broom handle?
Yeah, I hit him.
Damn. I was in. I spent a lot of time in Africa. In like these really fucking like isolated places, like where there's nothing except just like teepees and huts and some crazy shit I saw. But every day at a certain time of day in this one village I was in, this group of ants, you would hear them coming, and they go out in this pack of like 5,000, and you can hear them coming. And then you look out over the desert and you see this black circle that's probably like 20 feet by 20 feet. And it's just moving along the desert floor. And then you can go over and kind of like look at them, and they're like, and they're just combing. They do like just a walk around the, I know, right? And they do a walk around the territory, just looking for shit on the ground. And so they would just find stuff, but it would be crazy. Cause like they'd find a sleeping dog, and then the dog, you'd watch them like go over to the dog and then start trying to get the dog, and the dog would get up and run. But it was crazy.
Oh my God.
It was crazy. It was just like an army going out, just looking for shit to fuck up. But every day at the same time of day, I would see them come out.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
Yeah. And people there, like, I would see like a teepee, and and no one would be in it. And I'd be like, "Hey, what happened? How come no one's in that teepee?" And they're like, "Oh, cobras moved in, or termites moved in." Just nutty shit. Africa's a trip.
Wow.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me. Lovely conversation.
It was?
Yeah.
Good. I get nervous before all of these.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you nervous about?
I don't know. I was going to make up some shit, but I couldn't feel a real answer coming. Maybe long silences like the one I just had.
Well, you're pretty good at it, so you should feel more confident.
Yeah. But you know what? Aren't you nervous right before you go lift? Or no?
Yeah, but that's necessary. I've actually tried not to be nervous, and it ends up being really bad for you. I think in sports, you need those nerves.
Okay, then one more question for you. Is that fight or do you have fight or flight before you lift in front of a group, and then you have to make sure that you don't choose the flight mode?
I mean, yeah, if by fight or flight you mean just like the feeling of kind of like that anxiety, like elevated heart rates, palm sweating kind of thing, then yeah, of course I do feel it.
No, I mean literally you want to run out to the parking lot. Like minutes before this podcast starts, so today we had to change the time of the podcast, and I wanted to write to you so fucking bad and be like, we can do it on another day. You know what I mean? I would just want to run away. I'm always wanting to run away. I feel like everything I do in my life, I have to face like.
That's interesting. Yeah. But the obstacle is the way.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And so have you ever had that where like it's your turn to go up there and deadlift and you're like, oh man, I'm just going to run out to the parking lot, jump in my car and drive away?
With lifting, it never happened, but with fighting, it does. Like anytime I have a sparring session, pretty much, I feel like that.
It's so weird.
And even during, I had this conversation with one of my friends who's a world champion boxer, and yeah, she has the same feeling. Like sometimes even during sparring rounds or during a fight, you go back to your corner and you don't even feel like you can go back in. Like you're in such a high state of arousal that you feel like you just want to get out of the ring and quit forever. You question yourself even like why you're even there. But yeah, in fighting more than in powerlifting.
Is it what did you think of the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight?
Sick fight. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I thought personally I had never seen a Fury fight because I just started boxing. Really, I wasn't a boxing fan before, and I thought it was going to be a little bit more technical. But just man, you know what it is to be knocked down multiple times and just get back up and try to survive or change your strategy. I don't even know if you're even thinking at that point. You're just trying to like not get put on your ass again and just trying to throw as many punches as you can without getting punched many times. It's just crazy. They both showed so much heart, and it's really impressive, especially after experiencing that feeling in a ring. I have so much respect for athletes like that. Crazy.
Did you like Deontay going into the fight?
I didn't know much about him. I watched a couple of his older fights. I do. I think he's a great fighter, but man, Fury is just so impressive. So impressive in how he turned his life around, and his whole story is crazy.
Yeah, I was not a fan, and then by the third round, I was like, "Holy shit, I'm a fan."
Yeah.
Someone just wrote, Hector just wrote, Stefi just Ryan Holiday'd Sevan. The obstacle is the way. Is that one of his lines?
That's his book.
Teach me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
They said, I guess someone from your camp invited me to be on your podcast, and my producer's like, how should I answer? Like, you can't answer now. What if like she hates me or I hate her?
Then it'd be an even more interesting conversation.
Good point.